Hello, everybody. My name is Gülcan, and my teammates are Betül and Janet. Today, we will talk about how learning theories shape language teaching from theory to practice. Before we begin, I want to show you the outline of the presentation. First, I will briefly talk about how learning theories shape language teaching. Then we will follow the from theory to practice chain. Um, Moving from sociocultural theory to classroom practices. And then my teammate will talk about mismatches when theory and materials don't align, teacher implications, and conclusion. Hmm. In fact, every classroom decision is based on a theory of how students learn. For example, the activities we choose, the way we teach, and even the materials we use all reflect certain beliefs about learning. So there's a chain. Theory leads to methodology. Methodology shows instructions, and instructions determines the materials we will use. Uh, these elements are closely connected, and each one influences the other in the teaching process. For example, if we believe that students learn by building their own understanding, we may use a project-based approach, and we can let students explore and solve problems in the classroom. And we can also provide them some materials like research articles or videos, and this is a part of this chain. So if we understand the theory behind our teaching, we can make more effective and meaningful classroom decisions in the classroom. As I said, we will focus on sociocultural theories showing how it guides approaches, methods, instructional strategies, and the material design. What is sociocultural theory? Sociocultural theory was developed by Vygotsky, and he believed that the learning is not an individual process but a social one. In other words, we learn through interaction with others, with a teacher or peers. One of the key term is zone of proximal development, or ZPD. It refers to what a learner can do with support, but not yet alone. And scaffolding is the support given by a teacher or a more knowledgeable person, and this support is gradually removed. For example, a student cannot form a sentence alone, but with hints from the teachers, they can do it. This is ZPD, and the hints given by teacher are scaffolding. Now, how does this theory influence teaching? This brings us to communicative language teaching, or CLT. Uh, Based on this theory, communicative language teaching emphasizes communication as a main goal of learning. Instead of focusing on grammar rules, uh, students learn. Uh, Students use language to express meaning in the real life contexts. They actively use language, interact with others. Students use language in real life activities, pair works, and in that way they learn the language. So CLT is mainly based on sociocultural theory, as learning happens through interaction with others. And so here language is not uh, is learned by using it, not individually, not studying it. Now that we understand how sociocultural theory shapes approach, I will hand over to my colleague who will explain how this approach uh, translates into methodology or instructional strategy and material design.
Now, how we use sociocultural theory in methodology. I will specify this in task-based language teaching. In this one, students do not learn language as its own sake, but instead they use language to complete a task. In this one, these tasks are often based on real life situation. This make learning more meaningful and engaging. In this task-based language teaching, teacher supports interaction between the students and leads the students to the correct one and to better place. Also, when the student use their knowledge in a task, it's more last longing, and they can use this language in different areas. Now we will talk about instructional strategies. The key focus is not here the perfect accuracy, but effective communication. In this one, errors are seen as natural part of learning, and it makes learning process better. While doing that, these strategies support students in working their ZPD because they use this with each other and they try to solve, for example, a problem, or they role play their knowledge so that they can become better by in using languages. Now we learned methodology and instructional strategies. Now we will look at the material design. Material design is very important in learning. In this one, material design should be always aligned with chosen theory and approach. In a classroom based on sociocultural theory, materials should be real life context. They should provide a real life context, be interactive, promote collaboration, and such material transfer language from a subject to be studied into for communication. As my friend mentioned, in sociocultural theory, a language is like tool for communication. So materials also should be according to this. As you can see in these photos, they used workbook or digital workbooks. So they use different materials, but they work in a group. So it is okay to use different materials to achieve the same goal. Now, my friend Betül will be continue.
As my friend said, there's a strong connection between theory, approach, and materials. But what happens if they don't match? So let's look at the mismatch. When theory and materials don't align, what happens? In effective teaching, all these elements should be matched. But sometimes teachers use some materials or acts that don't reflect the underlying theory. For example, as we said in sociocultural theory, it said that learning happens with social interaction, collaboration, and meaningful communication, right? But if teachers use only grammar drills or repetitive activities, this creates a mismatch. Of course, grammar is important, but based on this sociocultural theory, this creates a mismatch because grammar drills focus on the memorization and individual work, but the sociocultural theory says the opposite one. As a result, students may not develop the real communicative skills. And students may learn the grammar rules, but they may not use the language in a real life context. So it's a problem. And also, this mismatch can lead to ineffective learning, limited student engagement, and also low motivation in the classroom. So it's very important for teachers to match their materials and activities with the theories and approach. And we will look at the teacher implications. Understanding the theoretical foundations of teaching is very important because when teachers are aware of learning theories, they can make more informed and conscious decisions in the classroom instead of blindly following a textbook or instead of blindly applying an activity. Teachers can evaluate whether the materials are suitable for the students or not. Also, teachers can adapt and redesign the materials according to the students' needs. Um, because not all materials are perfect, so teachers need to modify them to create a more meaningful environment in the classroom. And also to modify, as we said, to modify the materials, teachers can change boring activities into more interactive ones. Through this way, lessons will become more meaningful. The class will be more engaged, not mechanic. So this awareness helps teachers to support the students more effectively, especially as we said in their ZPD. They can provide the right guidance to the students, so it's very important for teachers. So let's look at the conclusion part. In conclusion, as we said from the beginning of the lesson, there is a strong connection between all these elements: learning theory, approach, methodology, strategy, and material design are connected to each other. And being aware of this connection helps teachers to teach with purpose and effectiveness. In this way, teachers can create better learning experiences for students, and they can help students develop real language skills. So it's very important. And also, it is very essential for teachers to understand this chain from theory to practice. I think that's all that we can talk about. And this is our resources that we used. And thank you for listening. See you again later.
See you.
Mhm.